بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Before I start, because otherwise I'll forget, I just want to ask everyone that Brother Muhammad Ibrahim, his sister, has gone down with COVID. So I will ask everyone to pray for her, please, in your prayers today. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. This is chapter 2, verse 153. O you who believe, seek assistance through patience and through prayer. Certainly, Allah is with those who are patient. Chapter 11, verses 9 to 11. وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنَّا رَحْمَةً ثُمَّ نَزَعْنَاهَا مِنْهُ ليئوس كفور ولئن أذقناه نعماء بعد ضراء مسته ليقولن ذهب السيئات عني إنه لفرح فخور إلا الذين صبروا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. And if we make man taste mercy from us, then withdraw it from him. He is surely despairing, ungrateful. And if we make him taste a favor after distress has afflicted him, he says, the evils are gone away from me. Certainly, he is exultant and boastful. Except for those who are patient and who do good to others, for them is forgiveness and a great reward. And lastly, chapter 16, verses 127 and 128. واصبر وما صبرك إلا بالله ولا تحزن عليهم ولا تك في ضيق مما يمكرون إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون. And be patient, and your patience is not but by Allah's help, and grieve not for them, nor be in distress for what they plan. Surely Allah is with those who keep their duty and those who do good to others. Sadaqallahul Aliyyul Azim. I have chosen the topic that it is the patient who are successful in life. And you can see that this is repeated over and over again in the Holy Quran. Some 20 verses or so. But being patient when we face difficulties and affliction and so on. But that is not the only thing. Last verse I recited, surely Allah is with those who keep their duty and who do good to others. Be patient. And what will happen? Surely Allah is with those who keep their duty and do good to others. So, doing good to humanity, whatever your situation and conditions, is a fundamental condition for Allah helping. You see, what happens is that if we look at any situation, whoever it is, then decisions taken in haste lead to terrible consequences. You can look at it at a political level, at a military level, at a personal level, whatever. We see that 20 years ago, the West hastily decided to attack Iraq and Afghanistan. And they bombed those countries, killing women and children. They said that they were attacking Afghanistan because Afghanis had given sanctuary to Osama bin Laden. Now, what Afghanis said is, why don't you make a case for extradition for Osama bin Laden in one of our courts and present your evidence? And if the court finds that he has committed these crimes, then we'll extradite him. But of course, the mighty don't listen. And instead, Afghanistan was attacked at terrible cost. Hundreds of thousands have died. And what has happened 20 years later? 20 years later, after a humiliating defeat, America is leaving Afghanistan. What have they gained with these hasty decisions? I use this as an example because this is the current news that is being shown. That since Americans started, they spent $2 trillion in Afghanistan. If the same amount of money had been spent on building roads and schools and hospitals and educating people, they would have had a different outcome. But man is arrogant. Human beings are arrogant. They want everything done now. What do you think is the cause for corruption in Pakistan and other third world countries? Because people don't want to be patient. They want everything now. And when that is not possible, they may not have money, they may not have something else. They resort to corruption under the excuse everyone's doing it. Well, what kind of argument is that everyone is doing it? So if everyone was taking heroin, you'll start taking heroin and become an addict because everyone is doing it. That is not a reason. The people make all kinds of excuses. Oh, I have a baby, I need a fridge, and etc. Or you think everyone in Africa and Asia has a fridge? No, you make do. And what's another name for making do? Be patient. Impatience and haste leads you to doing wrong things. Morally, intellectually. I remember in late 60s, tobacco companies used to give out huge amounts of money for research to prove that smoking was actually beneficial for human beings. And the universities, I'm talking about England, were accepting this money to try and prove that. Why? Because they hastily wanted to enhance the name and reputation of their university. The professors wanted to enhance their own reputation. Oh, I've written 19 papers to show that smoking is good for you. And that the same thing applies to your personal life. You will face difficulties. There'll be many times And you'll sit there with your head in your hands and you think, what is going to happen? And what does the Quran say? Seek Allah's help through patience and through prayer. Don't try and get everything today. And this refers to the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Look at his life. Do you think one day he claimed to be the prophet and the next day the whole community accepted him? He went through terrible trials at Makkah. There was one year which is called the Year of Sorrow, when his uncle, who, although he wasn't a Muslim, provided protection because he was the chief of a clan. And if he removed his protection, then people could have just killed the Holy Prophet Muhammad. But he didn't, despite all the difficulties. And the Quraysh, they went to him and they said, ask your nephew what he wants. So the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was called and they said, what do you want? Do you want to be the king? We'll make you the king. Do you want to be the richest man? We'll make you the richest man. Do you want to marry the most beautiful women in Arabia? We'll arrange that for you. Just name what you want. Now, you see, if Holy Prophet Muhammad had been patient in his haste, he could have said, oh, okay, well, that's very good. If I become the king of Makkah, I can then arrange for all these people to become Muslims. We always find an excuse to do the wrong thing, don't we? Well, if I don't do it, someone else will. What kind of logic is that? Or some other excuse. He had a perfect excuse. Rather than a long period of trial and tribulation and problems and difficulties, I'll become the king and then they'll have to listen to me and I'll say to them, God is one. Embrace Islam and everyone will come to Allah. But he didn't. He didn't want to coerce people. He didn't want to use his position to attain political power. So he carried on. He carried on working. And his answer to his uncle was amazing. He said, oh, uncle, if they put the sun on my right hand and moon on my left hand, I will still continue with my mission. I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to stop. A politician, someone like Tony Blair or Donald Trump or David Cameron, they would have found an excuse. Oh, look, here is a shortcut to bringing people to the right path. So let's do that. But he didn't. He was patient. And this happens many times in your life, in your personal life, in your professional life. There's a hearing and you're late and the judge is angry. So you think, what should I do? Well, that's easy. I've got a friend working in RAC or AA or some other company. I'll ring him and say, if the judge is angry, I'll give him your number. Please tell him my car broke down on the motorway and I had to wait for 2 hours before you came and rescued me. Rather than saying that I was up until 2 a.m. watching an Indian drama, that I didn't get up in the morning. But the thing with patience is that it negates another human quality, and that is arrogance. You know, people must recognize me, people must know me, people must salute me. Why? What will you get if people do that? Amitabh Bachchan was on a plane going somewhere, and there was an unassuming man, decently enough dressed. He was sitting next to him, and everyone else was getting up and going to Amitabh Bachchan and, you know, shaking his hand and saying, "Oh, you know, you're such a great actor, and you're such a great man, and you're this and you're that, etc." And this man wasn't taking any notice. He was just reading his paper and his newspaper and his papers and etc. And then the air hostess brought some tea. And as he leant across to get his tea, this man, Amitabh Bachchan, smiled at him. And the man smiled back and still took no notice. Anyway, at the end of the flight, they were getting off the plane, and Amitabh Bachchan shook the man's hand and said, "I'm Amitabh Bachchan, the famous Indian actor." And the man smiled back and took his hand and shook his hand and said, "Oh, it was nice to know you. I'm B.R. Tata." And you know who Tata is? The sole owner of the biggest industry in the whole of India. They own half the industries in Europe. And he just sat there eating and said, "Oh, I'm Tata, I've got 19 factories, I've got 17 Rolls Royces, and look at this is 7 row. This cost me £900, this waistcoat." And Amitabh Bachchan said, "I learned a lesson that day. That humility is a great thing, but it's very difficult to cultivate." He said, "I was proud. I was a famous actor, and people were coming and shaking my hand and saying, 'Oh, we recognize you.' And I was thinking, everyone recognized me. Who is this man that's not paying any attention?" And he said, "That man was more famous than I was. That man was 10,000 times richer than I was." You're talking about Tata Industries and these people. Do you think it happened in one day? It was their great-grandfather who started this. And then their grandfather joined it. And then their father joined it. And then they joined it. Through patience, slowly, and humility. God dislikes haughtiness and arrogance and so on. But you see, if you think sincerely that you're accountable for your deeds, then you will be patient. You will forever be saying, one day I'll have to account for what I've done. So let me be patient. Let me do the right thing. Why do politicians and so on indulge in doing the wrong things? because they think they're not accountable, because they think they'll get away with everything. You may in this world, but you will not in the hereafter. And if you believe that you're accountable for what you do, then every step you take, every breath you take, you will ask yourself, can I justify that? You know, in the books, there is a story about Hazrat Umar. After Hazrat Umar Razillah Ta'ala had passed away, 3 years later, 2.5 years later, his son saw him, Abdullah bin Umar saw him in a dream. And he complained to his father. He said that when you were passing away, you said you'll visit me the following day or the day after. But it's been nearly 2.5 years. And someone as great and as pious and as honest as Hazrat Umar Razillah Ta'ala said to his son, if it wasn't for God's grace and mercy, I don't know what would have happened to Umar. It's taken me this long. It's taken me 2.5 years to account to God for my deeds and seek forgiveness and for him to forgive me. If that is Hazrat Umar, what about you and I? How long will we have to account for our deeds? Because we are impatient, and in our impatience, we erode people's rights. We forget our duty. We are unjust to people. And sadly, we always forget the one being who's always helped us and who always helps us. And that is Allah. You see, people do wrong things to please their families, for the sake of their brother or their sister or their wives or their children and so on. But what about doing the right thing for Allah's sake? The Creator, the Master of the universe, who gave you everything you have. And if at some time your circumstances are strained and you're facing difficulties and problems, you turn to Him and ask Him for solace and ask Him for help. There's one thing that I always say when I'm in difficulties, and that is that I promise myself I'll never complain to Allah and ask, why is this happening to me? The only thing I will ask is for strength to bear patiently whatever it is that I'm facing, whatever difficulty, affliction that I'm facing. So I think you should do that as well. Rather than complain and moan, ask Allah for help and be patient. And always, whatever you're going to do, always ask yourself this question: will this please Allah or displease Allah? Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'anil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun karimun malikun barraufur rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وتعالى منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون واذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah, asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya 'alas salah, hayya 'alal falah, qad qamatis salat, qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. لم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا وإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
ربنا لك الحمد.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم جعلناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون وما يكذبك بعد بالدين ليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
ربنا ولك الحمد.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة Thank you for joining us for today's service. We welcome your comments on how we can improve our service technically, or if you want sermon or a khutbah or a lecture on some particular topic, then please let us know and we'll try and accommodate that. With the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep everyone safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.